Hi, darling. Welcome back. It is a well documented cultural phenomenon on social media that every Father's Day, even in South Africa, I've noticed in America, but even in South Africa, that every Father's Day, we see a lot of posts celebrating people's mothers. Thank you to the mom who became the mom and the dad at the same time. Even the statistics are actually quite alarming when you think about just how much, statistically, most Black families and colored families in South Africa have the most absent fathers in the country. What I want us to do today, I want us to talk about why there are a lot of absent fathers in South Africa. But what I want to offer you, darling, today is a different perspective. I want us to look at this from a very different lens. We are going to be looking at this circumstance, this trend, this historical thing whereby a lot of Black families have absent fathers. We are going to look at this from a historical perspective and a biological perspective. Apologies for my voice today. I am struggling with the flu. Before we go into the more logical aspects of this, personally, this topic also has affected me in the sense that all four of my friends, closest friends, have absent fathers, and these are individuals who come from affluent families, so it's not just an issue of poor families. It is so common to meet people in South Africa who don't have present fathers. I don't know when this became so common. It is actually sometimes heartbreaking. It's like, you know that it's easier to meet someone who doesn't have a father than to meet someone who has a present father. But before I go on and on and on, what I want us to do today, I want us to watch a few videos and then I will add my breakdown. Remember, we are going to try and look at this from a biological perspective and a historical perspective. And I look forward to hear your feedback. Let's start with the videos.
I never knew my dad. Man. No, it's a generational cycle. Mama. I never knew my dad. My child was also not gonna be their father. Really? My child is gonna suffer like I suffered. I never knew my dad. Why does he get to know his father? It's not fair. Oh, are you sure your father loves you? No.
Where's your father?
It doesn't matter where he is.
You don't even know him.
I know my father doesn't love you. You don't even have a picture. Your father will come to you and tell you, my boy, but he doesn't give a shit.
You know, the sad part is he thinks he's joking. And everybody's laughing, and until his words catches up with him. You see, fatherlessness is another pandemic that's going to kill our generation. And a lot of people don't understand its scars. They are permanent. You just have to learn to live with them. This is not a motivation. I actually just want to know, what is that one thing that makes it easy for you to leave your child? What makes it easy? This is for the fathers or someone who knows someone who left their child. What is the condition that makes you to leave your child and care less? I just want to know. Pleading with all present fathers, continue pushing, love your child. If you've got capacity, if you've got the strength, mentor someone, mentor a boy child, help them through, be a role model. We are losing a generation. This is not a joke.
You see the amount of absent fathers that we have in this country, the amount of deadbeat dads that we have in this country. It's insane. It's alarming. Lapo, it's not that the guy doesn't have the money. He does have the money. He's drinking it with his friends. He's buying himself nice clothes, nice car, renting a nice apartment. He's taking out his other girlfriend. But when it comes to his child, he's missing. He doesn't support the child. He doesn't even see the child. And to the ladies who are dating these type of men, please stop dating them, because you are not special. He's gonna do the same thing to you. He's gonna make you pregnant, and then he's not gonna support the child. He's gonna go AWOL. You know, you never ever gonna see him again, but he's gonna carry on living his best life. Machita, we need to stop this behavior. We cannot let our women struggle alone. You need to be there for your child. Support your child. It takes two people.
Data from Statistics South Africa reveals a concerning figure about absent fathers. Only 31.7% of black children stay with their biological fathers. That's compared to 51.3% of colored children, 86.1% of Indian or Asians, and 80.2% of whites. Let's discuss this with Zain Mias. He's the founder of the Fatherhood Foundation of South Africa. Zain, thank you so much for your time this morning. Can you perhaps help us to understand the significance of the figures that we are seeing here, and perhaps what your experience with it is?
Yes, generally, thank you for having me. That is 2/3 of all children growing up in South Africa today are without a father figure in the house. That is what that statistics you quoted, that is what it equates to, which means more children are now growing up without a father figure in the family than kids who are. And this is causing all sorts of social evils, as we can see. In the area where our offices are and where we operate, for example, Westbury in Johannesburg, well known for its gang violence and shootings, and places like Mitchell's Plain and Lavender Hills and Cape Town, the northern areas in PE, all, if you go and look at these areas, all of these areas there are kids growing up without fathers, without father figures.
I don't understand why, as a father, you don't want to be in your kid's life.
Dude,
like, I
and the
can
kid
never
looks
comprehend
exactly
that.
like in your head, you said somewhere, you think I've got someone out there who comes from me. You know, a part of
But
me.
you guys are men. I'm sure you know someone who's not a present dad.
None of my friends.
I don't know anyone who's not a present dad except for my dad.
Join the club. Mine was a sperm donor.
We're together, man. And it's not like you need to be with baby mama. No, just be there. Yo, man, there's nothing sweeter than your child, the glow in their eyes when they see you and you are their Superman.
So you've seen your dad?
No, I know my dad.
Oh,
I know
okay.
my dad. Just like wasn't. You see, like with my dad, it's that situation of, you know your dad. Your dad knows where you stay, but he's just not really interested in being present, right? And my mom and dad separated 91. I was 4, and my mom would go to church like around my dad's house, which was our home, but now she moved out. So I'd go visit him because he was my hero, right? He was my hero. Up until you like, this shit is just one-way traffic, right? And you know, and you grow up. You grow up, dude. Kids will always grow up, and eventually they'll see which parent was the problem.
Yeah.
Eventually the kids will, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I eventually noticed that, okay, it's like that. Cool.
I am very much aware that this is a sensitive topic, and I know it will affect some people negatively, but that is not the intention of this video. I want us to firstly unpack some of the issues that have been documented as having a correlation between absent fathers. And please know, I'm not amplifying these issues to excuse being an absent father, but I am wanting us to engage with this from an analytical point of view. So what I want us to do, let's go through the issues that I've noticed that cause a lot of absent fathers. Yes, it's not an exhaustive list. The first thing that I've noticed as I was doing research is that a lot of the reasons why some men decide not to be present in their children's lives is because of economic hardships. A lot of the times we like to say, yes, raising kids is easy, but for a lot of people, the financial strain, and it's not to excuse and say no, because obviously even the mother has financial strain from having a kid, but some men, because maybe they are unemployed, they are struggling to get a job, they don't have money, they feel like they cannot provide anything of value to the kid, or they are being diminished, or maybe they just don't feel like enough of a man because they cannot provide, which speaks to this idea of masculinity, because a lot of the times, a lot of men understand fatherhood as only provision. It speaks to this materialistic understanding of fatherhood. A lot of fathers, whether absent or present, think that being a father is just about providing money, providing things. And I think it speaks to the fact that we don't know an accurate representation of fatherhood, because if you actually do understand, in the human need, as a human need, a lot of people need protection. A father is a symbol of protection. Having a father, it's not just about the money. I am privileged to have a father. And yes, for the longest time, my father was unemployed. But one thing my father did, let me tell you a story, a short story. One thing my father did, that even when he was unemployed or took odd jobs for most of my childhood. So I remember this one time my dad hiked with me from Durban to Mpumalanga. I was just happy to be there. I kind of knew that my dad didn't have money, but I was just happy to be there, and I was comfortable. I felt safe because he was there. And a lot of guys, a lot of men don't realize that being a father is more than just providing money. You are a symbol of protection, especially for the girl child. You are the symbol of what she should look for in a man. You are a symbol, a reflection for your son on who he could become or who he does not want to become. So it's not just the economic things. And I understand, yes, kids need money, but it's not a valid enough reason to abandon a child. The other issue that I've noticed why absent fathers are so rampant in our country is because of the normalizing of single motherhood. Because just because something has been normalized doesn't mean it's good. Just because we know that a lot of people have single mothers, it is so common to go to any township and see that most of the houses are run by women. There's no husbands. The fact that it's normal, it makes it so easy for some people to abandon their kids. It's so easy. It's like, okay, this is something normal. You feel less guilty because other people are doing it, because human beings at the end of the day are social creatures. And if you see that, okay, it's normal to see single mothers internally, not to say that I think people are just monkey see, monkey do. No. But we've seen that it does make people comfortable with being incompetent. It makes people comfortable with doing bad. The same way we feel comfortable when we all know in a classroom that we did bad on an exam. It's like a feeling of, okay, we all did bad on this particular paper. So the feeling is like, okay, we're all fine. We're all messed up. It normalizes this thing. Another issue that I've noticed is the fact that a lot of kids are unplanned. A lot of us are results of teenage pregnancy, i.e. myself. A lot of people are results of teenage pregnancy, and because of that, you are dealing with two young adults or children who are trying to learn and navigate a relationship and raising a child, and you're also growing as a child. So a lot of the times it's also unplanned teenage pregnancy, but also one night stands, side chicks, cheating. A lot of this becomes a lot of unplanned pregnancies. And I have an issue with the idea, especially for adults. I will give grace to teenagers who fall pregnant. Not to say it's good, but I'm always very iffy when I hear people saying, "No, I didn't want a kid. She fell pregnant." At the end of the day, your sexual health is your responsibility. So if you decide to engage in a sexual activity, you need to be aware that there is a chance that pregnancy might occur. Are you taking that risk? Even though you don't want a kid, you do realize that once that pregnancy occurs, especially if you are the man, the chances of you having power in the decision making is really limited. I mean, depending on who you're dating, obviously, but it is limited. So whenever I hear adults, it's like, then just use protection. Like, don't complicate things. You don't want kids, use protection, or just stop engaging in any kind of activity that will result in pregnancy. Another issue that I've noticed is the family conflict. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of family conflicts that creates disruption. Like, sometimes people don't get along. We know couples fight, couples involve their families, and once you have a kid, both sides are involved, both families are involved, and a lot of family conflicts as well become introduced. Interpersonal conflicts, family conflicts, even relationship conflict, like you don't like your baby mama. It is so common to hear stories of men who don't like baby mamas. And that's a very tricky topic for me, because every time I hear and I read comments, especially on TikTok, from people who are dealing with being absent fathers, I am aware that some men truly are trying to be present in their children's lives. But there is something that I absolutely do not understand or agree with. It's the idea that everyone has an evil baby mama. Like, every single one of you has an evil baby mama. Let's play devil's advocate. If everyone has an evil baby mama, what is that saying about your decision-making skills as a man? What is that saying about your ability to make good choices? Are you truly a leader? Which I'm not judging, but I kind of am judging. It goes back to the fact that it's like a snake that eats itself. If you are telling me that every man cannot choose, all these men who have evil baby mamas, if all of them are choosing badly, it already indicates that a lot of them struggle with leadership skills, decision making, which is also a symptom of absent fathers. Because if you don't know how to make proper life decisions in choosing a life partner, it is indicative of the fact that probably somewhere in your life you didn't have an example. That's a probability. You didn't have an example of a father who is in a healthy relationship. So the thing is, I'm willing to accept that there are evil women, there are evil men. But the stats are showing 31% of households are the only one. 31%, I think, of households have present father figures, Black families, Black households. So I struggle to vilify the present parent, because the present parent is the one that the child sees every day. This is the one who provides food, caretaking, and all that. So I struggle sometimes to have empathy for the fact that you have a child. Yes, it's a possibility that there are evil baby mamas, but I don't think there are as much as people exaggerate. We know that some people tap out of parenthood. They see it as a choice. We are very much aware that there are more people who tap out of parenthood. Yes, I do believe there are evil parents, but I also do believe like some people just don't want to be present fathers. And this is coming from personal experience, like of men who don't provide for their kids. There are men who are like that. And there are men who are just trying to be present fathers, but they don't have money or they don't have the resources to offer. And it's not to excuse it, because at the end of the day, who looks more human in this situation? Who looks more human when we remove our emotions? Who looks more human? Is it the present parent or the parent who doesn't know where their child is, how their child is eating? The parent who doesn't know if their child is with a good step parent, a good stepfather. You are not aware. The same as, it's similar to how a dog or an animal has kids. It's about fend for yourself. That is not a human quality, and I'm not trying to be like vilify everyone. I'm saying good people exist and bad people exist, and it's a gray area. There are baby mamas who might be a little unhinged, and there are men who are also a little unhinged. Then there's some in between who are just trying to co-parent in a healthy way. Okay? So, like I promised, let's get to the historical perspective of how I analyze absent fathers. So if we think of the history of South Africa, obviously it's longer than apartheid. We have a history beyond that. But let's take it back to the 1913 Land Act. As Black South Africans were basically told or given small portions of land to live in, and as labor became more necessary, especially cheap migrant labor became more necessary for these systems that were in place, these systems of segregation, a lot of Black men had to leave their villages. They had to leave home and go to the cities to work in farms, to work in mines. And we know these stories of men who left their villages and never came back, only for the wife to go to the city and find that their man either passed away, or he is unknown, or he has a new wife in the city. We know that the way the structures of segregation were, it meant that Black people couldn't use the land that they were living in to make a life. They had to go to work, because you're given this small portion of land that is less than likely fertile. You don't have the resources. You were bought out of your own land. So with that in mind, there is a separation. There's obviously men who now are accustomed to city life. There are men who don't want to go back home. There are men who cannot afford to pay the bride price, to pay the bride price or ilobola. So there was already these systems of segregation created separations of traditional families, the nuclear family. There was separation of the family as men moved to the cities. So how does that link to the biology? How does biology explain it? So I was reading a study. It's an epigenetic study, and this study was investigating Holocaust survivors and just how trauma is transferred from one generation to the next. So I want you to think of trauma as almost like a imprint, an information, like let's think of trauma as like a pink fingernail. A pink fingernail. Think of a pink fingernail as trauma. And whenever you get traumatized, you get a pink fingernail. I'm trying to simplify it. So when your parents have gone through trauma, that trauma that they've gone through is not only represented in their bodies, but it's also transferred to their offspring. We are so aware that biologically, we assume that the only information that is transferred from our parents to us is just the physical characteristics. It's our face, it's our shape of our bodies. But we neglect the fact that also information, emotions, trauma is transferred as well from our parents. So because your parent had trauma and the trauma, let's say, caused a pink fingernail, the kids will also have a pink fingernail. And this, as I was reading, it's not only because it not only just means like, okay, the kids are also traumatized, it is an adaptive way to deal with the trauma. They were recording cases of people who've gone through trauma like war and stuff like that. And they've noticed a trend whereby people who've gone through trauma and have PTSD, the parents had low cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's the hormone that we need when we have to survive a dangerous situation or we're trying to cope with a stressful situation. And usually when you are stressed, cortisol goes high. But because on a long-term basis, when you have PTSD, your body is constantly in trauma. It is not healthy to have high cortisol levels. So your body has basically created a defense mechanism by making your cortisol levels extremely low. So with that in mind, it was noted that people who had gone through trauma, gone through war, families that had gone through war, even their kids who were not directly there had similar low cortisol levels. There was even a study of mouse, like a mouse, where the mouse would constantly, whenever it smelled berries or blossoms, I don't know, like a certain smell, it knew that when the smell would come, it means that electric shock would come. What they noticed is that even with the grandparents of that mouse, whenever they would smell this particular smell, they would be obviously stressed or fearful, even though they didn't experience these electric shocks. It's their grandfather who experienced it. So you might be asking, how does this link to absent fathers? I have a theory, a hypothesis that the trauma of separation of Black fathers from our villages to the cities, this trend of segregation and separation has created levels of trauma that we are repeating from generation to generation. It is so normalized to know that a father is not there. So how do we see this play out? We notice that even with families that have present or absent fathers, even in a situation where the father is there is a lack of emotional engagement with their kids. A lot of fathers who are even physically present are emotionally absent. And my theory is that a reason why a lot of fathers are absent is because of the historical transference of that trauma that lives in everyone. That separation of fathers from their children has led to this, maybe an emotional response, like maybe there's information that has been transferred to be emotionally less engaged. Let's say your grandparents had to learn how to not be emotionally attached to their children. That information is transferred from generation to generation. So even in situations where a father is present, emotionally he is absent. And that is just generations of information that has been transferred. But there's a beautiful thing here. There's a silver lining in the sense that even PTSD can be sort of healed through therapy. It can be these negative effects of generational trauma can actually be healed. You can affect your gene expression just through altering your behavior. The same way trauma causes certain genes of, emotional detachment, genes of less emotional attachment, like all these negative traits. The same way genes that are responsible, maybe for people's temperament, the genes for good things can also be activated if we fix the behavior. It's a very complicated conversation, and I wanted us to look at this absent father situation in South Africa from a different lens, from the lens of history, how history has created a pattern and how that has also affected us negatively. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section, and if you got this far in the video, please leave a phone emoji in the comment section. And I appreciate your support, darling. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.